Mutual funds are not boring. They're a great way for you to diversify your portfolio. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. This is Pradeep and you're watching Vlog of Note. In this video, I'm going to tell you about 3 top cheap mutual funds that you can invest in India right now. Let's get started. So first of all, before we get started, I'm not a SEBI registered advisor or a certified financial planner. Mutual funds can be difficult for some people. You have to read the offer document carefully, and there are so many of them. If you want to make your own investments, you should do your own market research. I've divided this video up into 3 parts. The first one talks about what is a mutual fund. The second one compares it to other investment vehicles. And the third one talks about 3 top cheap mutual funds that you can invest in India. The first part of this video talks about what is a mutual fund. Now, a mutual fund is really popular in India, and it basically represents a pool of assets of shareholders that invest into various other assets like securities or debentures. Now, there are so many different types of mutual funds, but broadly you have it based on the kinds of assets that they invest into, whether securities or bonds. And in securities you have various things like large cap or mid cap or small cap, and you also have it based on the management style, as in whether it's actively managed, there is a fund manager and therefore there could be an error, or whether it's passive, it just goes with the flow. Anyway, mutual funds have something called an NAV or a net asset value. It's basically the total assets of the mutual fund divided by the total number of shares or units outstanding. There is a popular misconception that the higher the NAV, the better the mutual fund. It is completely not true. A mutual fund that has an NAV of 100 rupees is not 3 times better than a mutual fund that has an NAV of 30 rupees. The second part of this video is mutual funds versus other investment vehicles. Mutual funds versus ETFs or exchange traded funds. Now, ETFs are super popular in the US. Basically, everyone seems to have one. And the primary difference between a mutual fund and an ETF is basically the fact that the ETF is traded on the exchange, and therefore the price is determined by the buying and selling action. A mutual fund's price or NAV is set at the end of the day after the trading action for the day. Small case is another popular investment vehicle, particularly in India, and full credit to the company in Bangalore which invented them, but basically they are thematic portfolios. They represent a group of stocks that you can invest in, kind of similar to a mutual fund. However, there are some key advantages of a small case. A small case is a little bit cheaper in that there is only a transaction fee as opposed to an annual maintenance fee. Also, it's a little bit more transparent. You know what companies you're investing in as part of the portfolio, and also it confers ownership rights to the people who are part of the small case. The third type of popular investment vehicle which is different from a mutual fund is a hedge fund. Now, hedge funds, even if you have the funds to actually invest in them, I would suggest you avoid them because they're just way too expensive. Hedge funds are managed by a fund manager, and basically they're good for shows like Billions but not much else. The third part of this video is 3 top mutual funds which are kind of cheap in India right about now. Now, here's the caveat. These are funds that I have SIPs in. They are cheap, but they are not the cheapest funds on the market, and they also have a good growth rate. What's the point of having a cheap fund if it has a bad growth rate? The first fund on the list is the Quant Tax Plan. Now, this is a really popular fund in India, and it basically has an ER or an expense ratio of just 0.57%. Basically meaning that if you invest 10,000 rupees in a year, you'll only be paying about 57 rupees as expense. Also, it has a growth rate of about 20.3%, which is really pretty good if you consider the fact that most people invest in these mutual funds for at least 10 years. The second fund on our list is the Tata Digital Fund. Now, this is obvious because I work in the digital marketing industry, but basically this has an ER of 0.34%, so really cheap. If you invest 10,000 rupees in a year, you're only paying 34 rupees as ER. Also, it has an average annual growth rate of about 20.1%. Considering the fact that this fund has a really cheap ER, I think it's worth it. The final fund on our list is the ICICI Prudential Technology Fund. This is a really huge fund with a huge assets under management, and it has a comparatively higher ER of 0.7%. That means if you invest about 10,000 rupees, you're paying 70 rupees in ER. However, to back it up, it has a comparatively higher average annual growth rate of 22.7%. Therefore, if you look at it net of ER, this is probably the best fund on the list. list. There you have it, 3 cheap mutual funds that you can invest in right about now. If you have any of your favorite funds, please do drop them in the comment section down below and share them with the community. As always, please go over to YouTube, subscribe to the Vlog of Note channel, ring that notification bell so that you never miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next episode.